I have Kristen as well. Are we on?
We're on. You're ready to go.
Okay. Alan was dominating the frame for me, so let's just like, hi, Kristen. Okay, welcome to the Library Commission's October 18th meeting. This is a teleconference meeting with the Library Commission members, city staff, and members of the public participating remotely to ensure proper social distancing in this federal, state, and local emergency. I'd like to introduce staff and Library Commission members who are present in the meeting tonight. We've got Vice Chair Alan Cohen, myself, the Chair David Earhart, Commissioner Kristen Leap, newly joining Commissioner Pavneet Singh, and Commissioner Vamsi Velagapudi. Joining us from staff is Nick Zejga, Assistant Director of Library Services. I would like to officially take a moment to welcome our newest Commissioner, Pavneet Singh.
Yay, welcome newbie. We're thrilled to have you.
Okay. With that, let's embarrass you and ask you just to do a few introductory words about what you're interested in as far as the commission and maybe a little bit of biographical background.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really a pleasure to be here as a part of the commission. By way of background, my family and I have lived in Menlo Park for a little over 5 years. My wife and I met and worked in Washington, D.C. prior to this for about 10 years, both working most recently in the Obama administration. I worked on national security issues at the White House, and my wife worked at the Department of Justice and elsewhere. So we have public policy is something that and public service is something that we're quite interested in. When we came to Menlo Park, it was extraordinary, just kind of the sense of community and, in our neighborhoods and whatnot, people going to the parks and young kids going around. What we discovered early on was that the library was instrumental. I mean, not only as a distraction, let's say, for our kids, keep them entertained, but just as a place that you can go to really bond with your neighbors. And I think what we've discovered both through COVID and beyond, just given the zeitgeist of what's happening in the world today, that we really need institutions that bring people together where, you can be different, you can think differently, but you get together in a common space. And I really do believe that the Menlo Park Library has a role to play in that context. And I'm excited. I know there's a variety of things that the commission does, but I'm very excited about at least trying to bring that element of civic engagement and using the library as a place to convene and really bring people together. So I really look forward to this. This is my first time in public service at the community level, and I'm looking forward to learning a lot and engaging with the rest of you and with the citizens of Menlo Park. So thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Thanks for that great introduction, Pavneet. All right. Okay, Nick, would you please give instructions to the Library Commission and the members of the public on how the meeting will proceed?
Sure. Members of the commission, we'd like you to keep your cameras on and your microphones off until you're recognized by the chair. If you want to be recognized by the chair, you can use that raise hand feature at the bottom of the Zoom screen, or you can just raise your hand on camera. That'll help the meeting go smoothly. Members of the public, there's going to be calls for public comment at various times throughout the agenda. The chair will call for comment. If you have a public comment that you'd like to make, again, you can use that raise hand feature at the bottom of the Zoom screen. Or if you're dialing in audio only, you can hit *9 to virtually raise your hand. Then the staff liaison, that's me, will recognize you and unmute you so you can make your public comment.
Thank you, Nick. With that, we're entering into the public comment, general public comment section of the meeting. In this section under public comment, the public may address the Library Commission on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the Library Commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. The Library Commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore the Library Commission cannot respond to non-agenda items, issues brought up under public comment, other than to provide general information. Nick, do we have any public comment for items not on the agenda at this time?
Members of the public, and folks in attendance, if you would like to make a public comment on an item not on the agenda, please use that raise hand function at the bottom of your Zoom screen, or if you're dialing in, press *9 now. And I see no public comment.
I will acknowledge at this point that we did receive an email on public comment for item D2 on the agenda. So when we get to that point, and I do believe the submitter of the email is on the meeting right now, so we'll bring that up then. Okay. We're moving on to regular business, items D. Under regular business, the Library Commission considers recommendations from city staff on policy matters or administrative actions that require commission approval. The first item in this area is the approval of the minutes for the September 20th, 2021 Library Commission meeting. Those were attached to the agenda. At this time, are there any clarifying questions from the commission before taking public comment? So if any of you currently commission members have a question about the agenda items of the agenda, or the meeting minutes from last meeting, please raise them now. I don't see any comments for that. Nick, do we have any public comment on the meeting minutes from the September 20th meeting?
If any member of the public would like to make a comment on the minutes from last month's meeting, pull them up on the screen here. Go ahead and use that raise hand function at the bottom of the Zoom screen, or *9 if you're dialing in. And I see no public comments. Thank
you. At this time, I'd open up the meeting for discussion with the Library Commission members. Is there any item from here that requires discussion? Okay, I can only see the minutes now. Let me see if I can get. Sorry. Okay.
So right, you miss Linda now, don't you? She's more efficient than I am.
Okay, seeing no need for discussion at this time, would a commissioner like to make a motion to approve the minutes as prepared?
Sure. Okay. I'm happy to approve the minutes. I'd call them to approve them.
I'm happy. Do I have a second for the stated motion? So Nick, would you please take a roll call to vote on the stated motion?
Sure. So I'm going to go ahead and take a roll call vote, just in case there are folks who are dialing in and can't see the screen. That's why we don't just raise our hands. Commissioner Singh, that's why we do the roll call vote. Commissioner Cohen and Commissioner Velagapudi were made the motion and seconded, so we assume that they're voting in favor. Chair Earhart, how do you vote?
Approve.
Commissioner Singh, how do you vote?
Approve.
Commissioner Leap, how do you vote?
In favor.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. All right, with that, we move on to item D2, which is the Menlo Park Community Campus Programming. And I believe staff's going to provide the background discussion for that. So
absolutely, I've got a bit of a brief intro there, David. Sorry, I'm talking over you. We have a joint meeting with the Parks and Recreation Commission next month. And what's happening now is we've been planning and the staff has been reporting to both commissions on sort of the physical plan and the construction of the new facility and the funding and all these sort of background things. Well, the construction is now underway. And so both commissions are sort of turning to programming at the new facilities. Now, there have been a lot of studies done, both on the community services side and on the library side. So on the library side, there were neighborhood needs studies and a space needs study when the planning was for a standalone branch library. On the community services side, there was a Bellhaven community study. And then there was the Parks and Recs Facilities Master Plan, both of which talked about what sorts of programming, what sorts of needs the community has for Parks and Rec facilities. And then even more proximate, we have the planning by the architects for the new facility, Hart Howerton, and the community meetings that were held there. And Ms. Jones's comment, which she emailed in earlier this evening, has links to that project page where there were various workshop comments and comments made at different meetings about what the community wanted to see in the new facility. So I thought before we had that we kicked that process off next month in the start of a meeting with the Parks and Rec Commission, that I would dump all of this background information on you guys and give you some grounding for starting that discussion. Also in some of those reports, you can see the different methods, the different outreach methods that were used to get the information in from the community and which ones were more or less effective. And that might be another thing to consider. When Chair Earhart and Chair Thomas from the Parks and Rec Commission were talking together in a planning session last week, we also sort of talked about maybe thinking about what things the Library Commission wants to handle that are maybe sort of just library things, what things the Parks and Rec may want to handle commission that are just Parks and Rec things, and where there's overlap. So with that, I will stop my introduction and turn it back over to the chair.
Thank you, Nick. Yes, I would recommend to the commission members to spend some time. I mean, it's a nice summary, the report attached to the agenda, nice summary of all the different elements that went into that. As Nick mentioned in the pre-meeting, the preparation for the joint meeting with the PRC that we held last week, I would like you to give some consideration before the November joint meeting about, I think we described it as kind of the Venn diagram, those things which are uniquely Library Commission interest, and they'll be thinking about the things that are uniquely PRC, Parks and Recreation Commission related, and then the physical building and how things are done in there obviously is a joint area. So I think there's some merit in looking holistically at the whole proposal, but also recalling that we have a unique charter relative to the library aspect of that, and work to make sure that those interests and those needs continue to be represented in the not only the physical structure, but also the programming that's going to be offered by the city in that area. So at this time, would ask if there are any clarifying questions or comments from the commission prior to taking public comment on this item.
Maybe I could just ask, using my prerogative as the new guy, is there, like, in terms of circumscribing the role of the commission in providing advice to the city council, are we opining on the budget? Are we opining on like whether this is a good idea or a bad idea? And if it's the former, for example, if it's the budget issues, can we review whatever financial data that's out there and things like that? And I imagine it's somewhere on the web and I can find it, but I just thought I'd surface that, because when I did a brief review of the documents, I was trying to figure out what role are we expected to play on this.
So that's great. I don't know if you want to take that, David, or you want me to.
So it's interesting you ask, because as I was digging through, as I was doing some archaeological work in my files, ran across the commission handbook that I was given when I joined the commission. And there is actually a city policy, city council procedure that speaks to the relationship between the commissions and the council. And it specifically speaks to not budgetary things and so forth. So I don't know if in the onboarding now for commissioners, whether or not this document is still provided. If not, Pavneet, I'd be happy to either lend you my copy or give you the references to the particular policy that would help kind of define the boundaries a little bit there.
That's great. No, I think I received a PDF of that, so I'll take a look. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. But it's a great question, and it's one that when we were working on the work plan for the commission, which we were reporting to the council in November, it also was important to keep that in mind. What's in scope for the commission? You know, what's our opportunity to contribute, and what's kind of out of bounds, you know, to some extent for the commission. So,
but also to your question, I can find that information for you. It's probably going to be in some of the staff reports to city council that were made, where they were discussing funding for the project, where they were going to take the money from for the city's contribution, how much Facebook's contribution is seen to be worth. And in my rough memory, Facebook's contribution is seen to be worth on the order of $35 million. And the city's contribution, which includes the swimming pool, all of the furnishing, fixtures, and equipment. Basically, that's everything that doesn't stick to the wall if you turn the building upside down and shake it. And now also, I think some additions like some of the solar carports and backup generators. And I think now also there's a system for getting the pool water up under the solar panels on the roof of the building and sort of preheating some of the pool water and saving some energy that way. I think the city is responsible for all of that. And in my recollection, and I'd have to go back and look at it again, right now that's roughly on the order of $10 million.
And so am I kind of correct in assuming all of the decisioning around what are the objectives of this community center, like what are we trying to achieve and in terms of building a community and a safe space and all that kind of stuff, that's all been kind of hashed out and decided?
Sort of, yeah, sort of. I mean, I think everyone is in broad agreement that this is a good thing to replace several different aging facilities in the Bellhaven neighborhood: the senior center, the youth center, the community center, and the pool. Many of those facilities were sort of reaching the ends of their lives. And so I think replacing them and having a community place for people to gather, I think everyone is in broad agreement with. Now, what we do in that new facility, that's kind of the conversation that we're starting to have among the commission and with the community. And like I said, this background report has a lot of input, and there's more that Ms. Jones in her comment linked to the project page, which has all these meetings where the community was giving input to the city and the designers about what they wanted to see in the new facility. So we're just gonna continue that, we're gonna kind of kick that conversation back off again and start to talk about it, because we're looking at 1.5 years, 2 years until the facility opens.
Got it, thank you.
But would it be fair to say, Nick, and again, I'm just looking at the dates again here, that, and this maybe goes to the point that Commissioner Singh was trying to make, is that largely the conversation that the Library Commission has had was in the context of a standalone library facility. The needs that were being drawn out reflected replacing the Bellhaven branch with a standalone. And so what I don't believe has happened is a public comment or a needs assessment of the combined facility. I mean, I think the combined piece emerged out of the Facebook offer, and we are now kind of catching up with articulating that from a community standpoint as well as from a commission / staff standpoint. So
I think that's fair, and I think the kind of scouting around that I've done for the sort of combined facilities. There's a couple in San Jose, library and community centers, and there are several others in the area. Even though they are combined in the physical space, they're not really integrated in the same way as far as services. It's like the senior center's that way and the library's back there, and the the recreation classes and the gyms and things are over here. And so that's kind of not what the community and the designers were thinking about when they were designing this new facility. I think they're thinking of it being much more integrated, both physically, where different groups would be using the same space at different times of day or days of the week for very different activities. So that's not something we've talked through yet with everyone.
Right. So, and that still needs to happen. That still needs to be, is still in front of us in terms of the process.
Absolutely.
So, any addition, and thanks for the comment, Commissioner Singh. Any other questions or comments from the commission? Okay, let me get back to my notes here just a moment. With that, and I know at this point we did receive an email comments from Pam Jones from the public. At this time, Nick, do we have any public comment? And I guess I would offer, if Ms. Jones wants to speak to what she sent, or we can simply read it on the screen, that would be fine.
Yeah, if anyone would like to make a comment on item D2, please use that raise hand feature on the bottom of your Zoom screen, or if you're dialing in, press *9. There is Miss Jones. Go ahead, you are unmuted. You can address the commission.
Good evening, and thank you, commissioners, for your service to the city of Menlo Park. And I definitely appreciate the new person's questions, because it's really important to have the history. And a piece that I'd like to add is that the building of four of our services was done because the neighborhood association, the Belhaven Neighborhood Association, met with Facebook and asked them to pay for this building, of which they were willing to put up $40,000. I put this letter together because I want to make, well, I'm about process and I'm also detailed based. So I want to make sure that all of the work that has particularly been done in the last year and a half on programming is not missed. The with those links that I put in there, the sticky notes that they have us put on the wall are summarized, which is not something that is normally done with reports. So I wanted to make sure that you all looked at it. I also would suggest watching the video again on April 15th, because it's a virtual tour of the facility. And it's really exciting. And the way it's narrated is about suggestions, not about how we have to do it. That's really all I have to say. Just making sure that the Belhaven neighborhood does not get left out on the things that we need to have in our community. I always am concerned when we have shiny new things that everybody wants to show up and use it. And they end up stepping over the people who have desired the services, which has been difficult in the past because we have had trouble reserving the buildings in the past because of finance, because of just not knowing all the steps you have to go through. Again, I want to thank each one of you for, as I said, your dedication to Menlo Park. This is not an easy task. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much for your comment, Ms. Jones. Any other public comments on this item? And seeing none.
Okay, this particular item doesn't require a motion or voting. It was informational in nature. I do hope the commission takes the time between now and the November joint meeting with the PRC to review the history provided both by Nick and by Ms. Jones. Again, I had forgotten about all those meetings that I had attended about the that Pam did such a great job of documenting. So thank you for that. Okay, there's nothing more on item D. We'll move to item E, informational items. Informational items are transmitted to the Library Commission in staff's effort to provide an update on matters of importance to the Commission. Informational items are not action items. However, a commissioner, city member, staff member, or a member of the public may request to make a comment or ask a question on any of the informational items. The first one, E2, is a report. We've moved the order, I apologize. The E1 was the agenda. We're going to cover that last. E2 is a report out on the planning session for the joint meeting with the PRC. Nick, do we have any public comment on that planning session?
Any comment on informational item E2? Please raise your hand using that Zoom raise hand feature or press *9 on your phone. Seeing none.
Okay, thank you for that. I want just give me a second now. A second. I wanted to get David's name right, so apologize for that. So just as a sort of a reminder, we have the joint meeting scheduled for the 15th. We sort of hinted the intention for that is to provide a single venue for staff to provide updates that they would normally be doing to both commissions. And I attended the Parks and Rec Commission, I guess it was in August. And it was clear there is a lot of overlap in terms of the physical building, the project updates that were shared with us that Tuesday, and then shared with the Monday, and then shared with the PRC on the following Wednesday. So this is an opportunity for us to get to reduce some of the burden on staff, and also for the two commissions to get a little bit of dialogue around where the emphasis may be different, and in terms of the public comment, making sure that we have a chance to articulate the specific needs of the Library Commission's representation in that process. So I do, again, one more time, I'll encourage you, read the background, and with a lens towards those, making sure that those items end up that are Library Commission centric or emphasized to support the community. With that, are there any questions or comments from the commission relative to the joint meeting?
I might just add, Chair Earhart, when you're going through that background material, if you have a question about anything, just feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to help.
Thank you for that. Okay, I think that closes out item E2. Item E3 is the Menlo Park Community Campus groundbreaking ceremony that's scheduled for Saturday, November 6th at 10 a.m. Nick, do we have any public comment on this item?
Anyone would like to comment on the groundbreaking ceremony, item E3, raise your hand using that Zoom raise hand function or *9 on your phone. Seeing none.
Are there any commissioner questions or comments on this item?
I'll just make a quick comment. I'm sorry, Commissioner Singh. I'm not sure if the invite has gone out yet for the groundbreaking ceremony. It's kind of rolling up on us really quickly now. But there will be an invite that goes out to all of the commissioners and the city officials and community members. I've seen a draft of it from a planning meeting last week. The city is handling some of the planning and execution of the groundbreaking ceremony, and Facebook is handling some of the planning and execution of other parts. So you should see an e-invite for that groundbreaking, but the time and date are correct. I might add that it's probably going to be really crowded for parking. The chance exists that it's going to be pretty crowded, especially with the construction activity that's going on over there. So if you have an opportunity to carpool, bike, walk, you might take
Park at
advantage.
Jackie's house.
Yeah, you might take advantage of that. Yeah, stay over at ex-commissioner, former commissioner, I should say, not ex-commissioner Sebrian's house. Or biking is actually pretty nice from over in the Civic Center area over to Onetta Harris takes about 15 minutes.
Yeah, and I would offer if we'll probably walk from my house in which is less than it's like a half mile to the site. So if there's some interest in meeting up at my home and parking there and then walking, that would be fine as well. Let me know if you want to do that. Yeah, and Facebook has already advertised it. I know they reached out to my wife Susan with the information, and she's already posted it on Nextdoor and through her blog. And I do believe there's also a working group that council member Cecilia Taylor has started that's also providing some support for that. So it should, if it's anything like the dedication ceremony at the park up here last summer, it will be crowded and well attended. So I hope to see you there. That would be great. Any other comments on that item? Okay. All right, so we will now do E1, review the Library Commission agenda calendar. Nikki, if you want to bring it up, and then we can open the line up for public comment on this item.
There we go. If anyone would like to make a public comment on the Commission's agenda planning calendar, use that raise hand function at this time. Seeing none.
Okay, so at this time we'd open it up for questions or comments from the commissioners, and I think I will kick it off by saying when we reviewed the calendar last week, I do think at least a good chunk of this should be the joint meeting content that the staff is going to sort of drive. Also hoping we'll do some sort of debrief from the groundbreaking, as it will occur the Saturday before that, right? Or it would be 2 weeks before that. So we'll have that to look back on and speak to. Are there other topics that we want to cover to try to get on the calendar in November? We're really trying not to have too many Library Commission specific things on there, because we will have, in fact, the PRC in the meeting at the time.
Yeah, I think they actually have one PRC specific item, which is at their November meeting. They have a list of approved, or they have to approve a list of authorized field users for the year, which is something that's kind of esoteric. And I didn't know that they had to do that, having just started to work with the Parks and Rec Commission this year. So, but that shouldn't take very long. I don't think that the Parks and Rec Commission will have very many items other than the sort of joint meeting material. So.
All right.
And then I'm sorry, the December meeting, there's nothing on there now, I think because of its proximity to the holiday break. Commissions in the past have sometimes taken that meeting and sometimes voted not to have that meeting. So that's why it's kept sort of purposefully light right now.
Yeah, I know in past years we've had the 5-minute meeting and then adjourned to a social thing, which regrettably may not be the case this year. So okay, other questions, comments relative to the agenda? Counter?
Yeah, so just a quick question in terms of the activities that the library undertakes and how we can influence them. Like, as we approach the holidays, we see obviously big can drives and things like that happening at Trader Joe's and elsewhere. Is there space to offer suggestions like book drives and things like that are library oriented? Is that something that the commission can advise, or is that something that happens organically in the library?
I think both, actually. So I mean, it's perfectly it's proper for the library commission to bring up ideas like that, or pass along ideas that you hear from members of the community in your conversations. So you can bring those up in the commission meetings, or you can bring them up directly with staff, either one. Just on that topic, the Friends of the Library, which I'm going to talk about in my sort of department updates. The Friends of the Library are the sort of big volunteer group that gathers books together and then sells them to make money for the library. But we also have had some, especially during the shelter-in-place period, a lot of distributing books out through the network of little free libraries in town. Mm-hmm. So there's a possibility, and I've hosted book drives for individuals. I can remember a young lady a couple of years ago who we hosted a book drive for her. So I think a book drive is a nice thing to do. Fits right in with our mission. So
I guess to that point, is there anything seasonal or holiday focused that the library is going to do that's going to be unique this year, or going to be done uniquely because of the still restrictions and so forth?
Yeah, we're still just sort of starting up our in-person story times at the library and at the main library and the branch library in the middle of November. We haven't really started in-person gatherings yet. So this year will be a little different than years past. In years past, there have been events and gatherings. And interestingly, that's something that the Parks and Rec Commission was discussing last month, which is sort of city-sponsored holiday events and sort of what those look like, which holidays and what kind of events should the Parks and Rec Commission, should the city be sponsoring. So that was an interesting discussion. I don't know that they came to any particular conclusion yet, but it's a topic that they've been discussing.
Wonderful, thank you.
So no, David, is the short answer. The short answer is no, probably not a lot of holiday events this year, just because of all the uncertainty about different COVID restrictions and who would have the shots or not yet.
And just again, for background, Commissioner Singh, there are, fairly routinely report outs from staff about, programs they are doing, like we the meal program that was running out of the senior center. We got an update on that. We've gotten updates on a variety of things. So actually, was it last month we had the story time, or was it the month before that? I mean, there have been there, so we do get a chance to see what's coming out of the library sort of organically. But yeah, obviously, if we have suggestions, they will entertain that. So, to that point, just for the digression, I haven't heard much about the little free libraries this year. I know the year before last we had that ride. We had, there was the campaign for them. Is that something that's not funded this year, or is this sort of because of the year we didn't do it, or what's the status of that, Nick?
Yeah, we're still sort of on a one-off basis supporting the little free libraries. The stewards sign up to provide materials for the little free libraries when they, agree to be a steward. But we'll support them if they need materials. During the shelter in place, we directly mailed boxes of books to the little free library stewards. One was just a sort of general box of books, and then we did a little diverse free libraries program where we had books by diverse authors and representing diverse points of view, which we mailed out. I've been known to drive around and put stuff in little free libraries around town if I see them getting a little light, but we haven't had, you're right, in the last 5-6 months, we haven't had anything sort of organized for the little free libraries.
But the last round of funding was based on a grant. Is that correct? Because there were a number of little free libraries that were sponsored all at one time. There was a
right. The city and the Library Foundation and the Friends of the Library put up money for the installation of 28 little free libraries. We've talked about having another round where we try to install another tranche of little free libraries, but we haven't gotten that up off the ground yet. But there's been talk of doing it. I think the foundation would be interested in it again.
All right. Anything else on the agenda? Okay. Let's move on. So Nick, you did mention department updates. It's not on the items you sent me. So
yeah, it's not a written report. It's just a verbal rundown. Sean likes written reports for his department updates, but since he's not here tonight, I'm just going to talk at you for a little bit, and happy to entertain any questions you might have. Some of it's announcements and some of it's sort of just updates. We've got a seed swap coming up on Saturday, October 23rd at 10:30 at the main library patio. That's
you said seed swap, right? Is that because I think you said seed swap? Seed as in
seed, like plant seeds.
Okay,
yes.
all right.
And okay. It's run by the master gardeners who are our volunteers for our seed library program. They've been having monthly garden talks, and this is sort of an outgrowth, if I can say that dad joke of the garden talks. So swing by if you're around on Saturday, the 23rd in the morning. Just on personnel notes, the city authorized restoring a lot of positions to the Library and Community Services Department in the most recent budget. Well, those folks are finally coming on board and they're getting trained. So we've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 part-time folks coming on.
Wow. To
go along with the 2 librarians who are full-time who were hired. And then there's a round of program assistants, which is a classification in the community services side of the house. It's going to be 5 program assistants, which are benefited positions. 4 of them are part-time and 1 is full-time. And those will be across the Library and Community Services Department. Only 1 of them will be library focused. I think the idea there is that that program assistant position becomes a little more interchangeable, where you might be working for like a 6-month assignment with the seniors, the senior program, then 6 months with the after school care in the Belhaven neighborhood, and then 6 months at the library. So we're hoping we can get folks who can provide great customer service across the different functions of the department. A note from the city clerk that the independent redistricting committee is still recruiting members. The deadline for that is October 29th. So the city is made up of 5 different election districts, each which elects a city council member. The redistricting based on the results of the most recent census is going on, and there is an independent redistricting committee made up of citizens that's going to do that redistricting and provide the new boundaries to the city council to approve. As Chair Earhart mentioned, the Library Commission is going to be presenting their work plan to the city council in November. The latest date is November the 9th. So we hope that date sticks and doesn't slide. It's slid quite a few times now over the past month and a half, but the city council has been busy with a lot of things to do. So I'd be happy if they did it on November 9th, but I'd be sad if it was like the last thing on the agenda. I think they usually try to make those things early in the agenda, David, so that you don't have to sit through the till the 11:30 hour or something for
marathon
yeah,
council meeting.
for your updates. Friends of the Library are having a book sale, so they're trying to get the band back together, and they're also sort of going under a rapidly rising level of donated books. So they have a book sale scheduled for Friday, November the 5th in the afternoon from 2 to 5, and Saturday, November the 6th in the morning, which is the same day. It overlaps with the groundbreaking ceremony, but it goes from 10 to 2 on that Saturday. Lots of great books. So come on by and support the friends. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, in-person story times are starting back up, a very popular program. We were providing, the team was providing story times to the childcare facilities over the summer and during the shutdown. Now we're going back to in-person public story times, and we're going to see how those go, because we're not really sure if people are going to show up or not, or who's going to show up. We had in the past, different story times sort of distinguished by age of participant. We don't know what we're going to get, so we're going to start them up, and that's something that we can report out on at the next. I think we'll have started by the time the November meeting happens, but it's certainly something to keep an eye on, and we'll report back to the commission about that.
Will that be mixed mode?
Go ahead.
Mixed mode? Would that be a mixed mode thing, that story time, or is it going to be all now? It's just going to be physical.
We haven't figured out quite how to do them successfully in a hybrid fashion. I mean, the best mode for story times is like a kid on a caregiver's lap. That's like the best story time that we could devise. But there's actually been some good things about the Zoom story times, in that you can get the books really close to the screen so the kids can see the details of the books, but you don't have the same level of interactivity that you have when you're in person. And to build those early literacy skills, you really kind of need that interactivity to do it right. So we're hoping and looking forward to getting those in-person story times back.
Thank you.
And then finally, I swear I'm almost done. We ordered a whole bunch of furniture for the sort of learning space and the senior annex lounge space at the main library. So you should come on by and check it out. The funding for that was provided by Literacy Partners, which is the charitable group that funds programs for adult literacy, formerly called Project Read at the library. And they've sort of broadened out their mission to be community literacy, or literacy community-wide, whether it's adults or kids or different kinds of literacy. So you should come by. We've kind of outfitted an area of the library now, sort of more like a classroom space. We've started to outfit that, and then we've got some nicer furniture for the seniors, some more sturdy but comfortable lounge, sort of hotel lobby lounge furniture in that senior annex space. With that, I will stop talking.
Thank you for that great update. At this time, we'll transition to any advisory board member reports. So do any of the commission members want to report out on their participation with their liaison groups?
Maybe just on behalf of Literacy Partners, I think, Nick, you shared the news on the furniture earlier today, so it's well received by Literacy Partners. It's been a long wait. And they do have their regular board meeting on Wednesday this week. So it's the first time I'll be joining, just to say hello. So I'll have a bit more to report out next time around.
Excellent, thank you for that. And we've sort of hinted, we had the joint meeting, the preparatory meeting last week with the PRC, that I'm the liaison with that group. And then we'll have the joint meeting in November. Commissioner Elite, you have your hand up.
Does Pavneet know what the advisory, does he know what you're talking about?
I don't.
Excellent.
Good catch.
So actually, if you bring the agenda back up, Nick, because there's a little blurb at the bottom. You can see all the list all at one time on the.
Let's see, where did I put it?
While he's doing that, so we've identified these different sort of adjacent groups or interested groups that are library topical or community topical, and have identified through a process of selection and volunteering arrived at having commissioner liaisons with these different groups, and the responsibility is to attend the meetings as much as possible, or at least get a debrief from the leadership of those teams, and then bring it back and talk about where there are things that are resonating between the commission and those groups. And so this is sort of the list of those organizations that we're liaising with. And for example, I'm the primary contact for liaison with the Parks and Rec Commission. And then let's go through the ones real quickly. Friends of the Library that's Alan's waving his hand. And I know Katie's like the primary or secondary on two of them. And then Library Foundation.
I think that's Katie that's Commissioner Hadrovich as well, because she's a member of the foundation board. And as Commissioner Veligapudi mentioned, the Literacy Partners is the other organization. So we can let's offline, Nick, revisit the matrix we have of who's in what. So we had talked about not filling that one position until we had the new commissioner on board. So let's put that on the agenda for November then, for sure. It's a quick thing. But we'll get it to you in advance, Commissioner, things, so you kind of know what. We're actually going to kind of offer you one position. We have a position open. So.
Yeah, great. I look forward to
say no. We're hoping you'll say yes. But and thank you, Commissioner Leap, for drawing attention to that. So, any other commissioners want to speak to their activities of their group? Okay. Seeing none, at this time, I'm ready to adjourn the meeting. So I'm adjourning the October 18th meeting at 7:25 p.m. And thank you so much for your participation, and welcome, Pavneet. Thank you for joining the commission.
Thank you all, and it was really an informative session. So I look forward to working with you guys.
Absolutely.
Good to have you.
May I offer a piece of advice? When I first joined the commission, which was a really long time ago,